I quit. No one really knows that, but we just had no sale because I didn't test it on anyone, and turned out the first design was really, really bad. Yes and no mean very different things.
She is the founder of CoGear. I cannot wait to ask her all of the questions. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the Mighty Mum podcast. I'm Tegan, your host, and I am so excited to have Kim in the studio. Finally, I have been online friends with Kim and following her and her journey for a long time now. So I'm excited to meet her in real life and come together and talk about how she started CoGear. She is the founder of CoGear, which is a women's workwear label, and she is making waves and doing some amazing stuff. So I cannot wait to ask her all of the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tegan. That was quite the intro.
No, I mean, as we said, like I've been following you for a while, and done some research, and I obviously was lucky enough to wear CoGear at my mining job, and so I feel like I'm meeting you in the real life.
It is good. It is funny what the internet does, and Instagram in particular. I feel like I was on your Mykonos trip.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I love it. So let's talk about you, where you grew up, and who you are before you started your brand.
Sure. So grew up small town, Bowen in North Queensland. So it's kind of like the Whitsundays, but the less touristy part, which is lovely.
Nice.
I'm one of four, so I have two sisters and a brother. I'm a middle child. And yeah, I had a fun upbringing. It was very outdoorsy. We did a lot of fishing, water sports, but we grew up on a small farm. So we'd always be chipping in around the farm. Everyone would get in and work and do the jobs, and, whether we had to move pipes or prune the mango trees. And then we could go out and do fun things like fishing it was very outdoorsy, very helped one another is the way I was brought up.
Amazing. And so you grew up there. Did you go to uni and study?
Yeah. Interesting question. I did end up at uni, but it wasn't straightforward. So I quit school at 15. I had no intention of quitting school. It was just I applied for a holiday job at a law firm, and at the end of the holidays, this was Christmas holidays, so you got a 6-week break, they sort of said to me, you can come back on Monday. And I replied that I've got to go to school, which then followed, you've got a job if you don't want to go to school. So I turned up on Monday and worked.
Wow. And what were you doing at the law firm?
So I was in admin. I worked for them for about 2 years. And then I was driving to work one day and I had this realization, is this going to be my life for the rest of my life? And I answered myself and I said, it could be. If I wanted it to be, it could be. But I wanted something else or something more. I didn't know what something more was, but I knew there was so much to explore. So I kept that to myself and went away on a family holiday with mum and dad, and mum could sort of sense that I wasn't myself. And then she said to me, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know if I like what I'm doing. And she said, oh, it's funny you say that because I had a feeling this might be coming. And she said, I found this ad in the newspaper that's, the time everything came out of the newspaper, and it said you could do grade 11 and 12 in 1 year at TAFE. But there was fine print down the bottom which said you had to be 18 to enroll, and I was only turning 17 that year. And I said, but Mum, I can't do it. She said, leave that to me. Let's go and explore it. So that was finished holidays. When we got back to Bowen, Mum's like, come on, let's go to Townsville and we'll check out this TAFE course. And we did the tour, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. Mum could sense that, I was ready for change. And she just said, oh, go and sit in the car and I'll just go and talk to them about the age thing. And Mum came out and she was like, oh, you can start in a couple of weeks. I was like, how did you do that? She's like, oh, like sometimes, the rules are just more guidelines. Like if you can explain your situation, then, there might be another way in, but you've got to ask for what you want. So that was probably my first real experience of just speaking up and standing up for yourself. But it was in a really kind, respectful way. It was just like, Kim is younger, but this is what she wants to do. And they said yes.
Wow. And even the fact that you left school at 15 and went straight into the workforce, do you think, the experience that you had leaving school early and then, obviously backtracking, but that you would have had to grow up quite fast and be in an adult world. And what did you learn from that law firm that may have helped structure you into the business savvy woman that you are now?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't think it was too deep, but there were things like priorities that you had to juggle. And to a degree, yeah, you have that at school, but you also have teachers like monitoring everything you do and asking, there's lots of deadlines and check-in points and that kind of stuff. But I remember this particular time at work where I was 15, so, just balancing the petty cash, and then I had to do the mail run, and then it was a law firm, so you had to deliver things to the court on time. And I was just drowning in simple tasks like that. In reflection, that was simple, but at the time it was a lot. And I asked for help. And my supervisor at the time, she helped me put together a timetable. So first thing in the morning, this is what I do, and then have smoko, and then these were the options, and we planned out the whole week. So as soon as I had that structure, I was fine. But at that point, only being 15 and not really having to take ownership and delivery of certain things, you didn't even know that basic planning.
Yeah.
So her taking the time and going through that with me and, she set me up for success there. I really appreciated her time, and her job was, putting the letters together. Her desk was huge in files, but she still made time for me. So it was nice.
So good. And then you did the TAFE 1 year.
Yeah. So I did TAFE, and then I applied for uni, and I got into law because that's all I really knew. So I applied there, but then I got in, and then I realised law's not my thing. I'm introverted by nature. I don't like arguments. I don't like confrontation. Law just wasn't the thing for me. So then I transferred to education. Then I got into that as well. And again, I started thinking about it. And I was like, do I really want to be up in front of a classroom? No, I don't. And then I was chatting to Mum, and Mum's like, why don't you do something general? Do commerce. It's very transferable.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can be an accountant. We didn't really know what else I could be from that, but it just felt more open. And the even better part of it, it was only a 3-year degree, not a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a big one for study. And I just thought if I could get in and out, rejoin the workforce, I'll be happy. So that's what I did. And then went to uni, had a great time. In hindsight, I didn't really want it to end. So a 4-year degree would have been great. But then, it was my friend. She was like, Kim, come along to a careers fair, and we're graduating soon. We need to get a job. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but I want to go backpacking. I'm really not interested in working going into that full structure. I'd worked all through uni. I was on my cousin's tomato farm, and so I'd worked hard and I'd saved a fair bit of money. I was like, no, I'm going backpacking, and that was in my head. And Lauren's like, just come along, Kim. Just come with me, even if you don't talk to anyone. I'm like, yeah, righto. So I went there, and we were walking down the aisle, and she went and talked to everyone, and I just stood in the middle. I'm like, I'm not engaging.
I'm going back. I'm above work.
It wasn't really that. It was just I set my mind to something. Like
yeah.
I like hard work. And then and then we were talking to Anglo-American. Well, she was. And then one of the, behind the booth, the person was like, "Oh, what's she doing?" And I'm like, "I'm going backpacking." Like, and they were like, "Oh, why don't you just come and have a chat? Like, we've got this grad program." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, like that's nice." And I just took the form to be polite. And then we left there. I went and put it in the bin, and that was that. But then Lauren applied, and because she was from a town not far from where I lived, like it was small, and and that's when home phones were a thing.
Yeah.
And she called me when I was at my parents' on the home phone, and Mum just happened to answer. And so she was chatting to Lauren, and Lauren said to her, has Kim applied for the job? And Mum's like, "What job?" Mum hung up the phone and came and spoke to me. And she was like, "Have you applied for this job yet? It sounds pretty good." I was like, I just want to go backpacking. Like, this is my chance to go. And she's like, "How about you apply? And if you get the job, then you've got a choice." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that." So it was the night it was closing, jumped online, filled in the application. And then so it was for their grad program. And then I received a call and saying, "Oh, you got through to the next stage. It's in Brisbane." I'm like, "Oh, sweet." And they're going to pay for my flights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just viewed it as this is a free trip to Brisbane.
Yeah.
But then when I got there, it was actually really fun. Like the interview day was fun. And then we had a team building thing that night. I'm like, I think I could, get used to this. And so then I got through to the next stage, which I can't even remember what that was. It was a few at that point. And I kept getting through. And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Like, I never even thought I would. And then I was offered the job, and I opened the envelope and I'm like, "You've got to be kidding. They don't want to pay me this much," like straight out of uni. And I thought, if I do that for 12 months, I'll be able to go backpacking for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, of course I'll take it.
Yeah.
And but part of that then was moving to Middlemount in central Queensland. The job was residential. It was a commercial grad, and then you rotated through their grad program. So it turned out to be, awesome. And then I still got to go backpacking. They gave me 12 months off, unpaid leave to go on an adventure, come back, and I had a job.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like it ticked all my boxes.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
goodness
yeah.
I was like pushed into a plane.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good. So then when you got back from backpacking, were you ready to like get in and work again, or were you more like, "I want to keep traveling"?
Well, by that point I'd run out of money. So it was just time, and I was ready. So I didn't really work too much while I was on traveling because I'd saved a lot. So I just had a really good look around.
Yeah.
Which kind of, it calmed me down to a degree from driving back when I was 17 into the law firm job thinking is there more? It kind of was like, yeah, there is. Like, there's a big wide world.
Yeah.
You can do anything you kind of set your mind to. But when I came back from travel, I was ready to get in, work. So, but I ended up, so the deal was they'd give me 12 months unpaid leave. I'd come back, but maybe not to my role because they had to fill site roles.
Yeah.
So fair enough. I ended up back in Brisbane. Oh, this was my first stint in Brisbane. But I learned quickly Brisbane isn't for me. Like, I am a country person. I don't like stoplights. I like calmness. So I just wasn't really into the public transport and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I asked to go back to site, and when a job popped up, I moved. So that happened, and that's when I ended up at Foxley, and that's when everything, like in hindsight, started to come together. So my manager at the time was Steph. She was lovely, and she just got married not too long ago, so she was starting a family, and it was Steph that was pregnant. And she was walking around site with an open high-vis shirt with a singlet on underneath. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody really questioned it, right? Because that's just what you did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Steph didn't have, leave coverage. It was just like, Kim, you can do this while Steph goes away on mat leave and then, we'll figure it out. It was a small mine. So we all just sort of got in and worked together and helped each other out. And so Steph said, come along to these meetings. And all you have to do, sit in the back corner, take your notepad and just take note of the questions that are being asked to her and try and answer them in your head. And if you don't know how, take a note and then go back and figure it out. So every time you come along to these meetings, you'll get better and more confident. And then when I've gone on mat leave, you'll be good. And so this particular meeting that I was invited to, it was like a site leadership team meeting. And I just sat there and all the men were around the table and there was Steph. So there was probably about 7 men and then there was Steph. And they were all sitting there super comfortable in their high-vis and there was Steph, 7.5 months pregnant, open high-vis shirt, singlet on underneath. This is Bowen Basin, so it's super hot, like the Pilbara, right? Super hot. And I don't know about you, but when I was pregnant, I was so hot all of the time. It's my warmest winter ever.
Yeah.
You just don't need the extra layers. And I was like, this isn't right. And then they started talking about how do we get more women into industry. So I'm there with my notebook in the back corner. And then I was like, well, this is a really obvious question. And I'm doing this in my head, right? I was like, well, we can start with doing better with uniforms. Like there's Steph. She doesn't feel like she wouldn't feel like she truly belongs because she can't even do up her work shirt going to work every day. And so anyway, I didn't say anything because I wasn't there to talk. I was there to learn and professional development. But I went home that night and I just started Googling. I just wanted to buy Steph a uniform that fit her.
Yeah.
And then I realized there was nothing, nothing globally. I didn't care if I had to get it from London or the States or wherever. And there was nothing. And then I went to bed that night thinking, I've always wanted to have a business. So mum and dad both had their own businesses growing up. So I saw that.
Yeah.
And as much as they worked around the clock, there was something that really appealed to me about growing something and doing something for yourself. So I always had that subconscious thought, one day I'll have my own business. And then I went to bed that night and I just started thinking, a business, I'm not going to wake up one morning and just have a business in my lap sort of thing. I've actually got to create this. So I was like, well, Steph needs workwear. I've always been interested in fashion, but never thought, coming from a small town, that was even accessible, hence how we ended up in commerce and that sort of world. And I was like, this is my chance to do something for the industry that I really like and do something for myself.
Yeah.
So that kind of was the moment the seed was planted. But then for me, I get really excited really quickly.
Yeah.
So it was like, by the time I'd woken up in the morning, I'd decided I was going to do this.
Yeah.
So then I went to work and I just kept observing other women in their workwear. And to get to work, you could catch a bus. So I started catching the bus because you could drive to the gate, but then you had to get on the bus to get to the offices, or you could just catch a bus from town. So I started catching the bus from town just to listen about if anyone was talking about their workwear. Turns out a lot of people were unhappy. It would just be someone saying, oh, my pants are digging in today, or the tape's so annoying it's making a noise, or, lots of little things. And then I found one woman that was living at the camp. I was like, her jeans, they're so nice. And they had tape on them. I'm like, bugger it. I'm just going to go and say hi and start talking to her. And I was like, oh, I love your jeans. She's like, oh, thanks, they're such and such. I was like, I didn't know they came with tape. She's like, oh, they don't. I buy my own tape and sew it on myself.
Yeah. I
was like, wow. And then that's when the penny sort of dropped. There's something in this. There's a lot of women that weren't happy, and this was just on one little site. So I started then thinking, let's fix the maternity and then go from there. So the idea was there. It was great. My downfall was I had no experience in design, in manufacturing, in sourcing, in logistics, like anything to actually deliver a product.
Yeah.
So I, again, just jumped on Google and looked for mentors, like someone that was doing this. And this shows my naivety. Like I couldn't find anyone in Australia.
Yeah.
But I found a person in the US and she's like, yeah, I'll have a chat to you. So I was waking up at like 2 a.m. to talk to this woman in the US and then for an hour or so, and then I'd like figure out what I had to do. Then I'd be at work by 6 a.m. to like 4 or 5 and then come home and do it all again. But that, it's when I also didn't tell anyone I was doing it because I didn't want anyone to say, like, if there was a market for it, Kim, one of the big guys would be doing it. So I just sort of kept it to myself and just, did this on the side and at night time.
Yeah.
And then had to figure out how to actually get it made. And that was a whole different ballgame.
That's so funny. A couple of things I was thinking as you were talking. I was remembering myself being pregnant. So that was like 9 years ago on site, being pregnant, and I couldn't fit the pants anymore. So I brought jeans, put tape on the jeans, and I would even have to like get 2 rubber bands to like keep my pants, and then I'd untuck my shirt so no one would see, and I'd be wearing like men's shirts at this point over my skinny jeans with tape that I'd sewed onto myself. So I can totally resonate with those stories that you were saying. And then the second part to it is like the initiative that you took, finding a mentor.
Yeah, I didn't know it was called a mentor though.
Yeah.
I think I just went looking for, I was desperate.
Mm.
I was just desperate. But it turned out, she didn't really help me, to be honest. Like looking back, and I've still got the notebooks and stuff. There was nothing like groundbreaking in there. I could have found all of that Googling myself.
Yeah.
But she did it for free. So like super appreciative.
And even just I find like bouncing ideas off people is always so helpful, just talking about things out loud. And even if they weren't helpful, like, they've helped give you confidence to keep going.
That's true. And practice talking about your idea because that's also really hard.
Yeah.
I remember that when I did get the courage to tell someone, the first person was my mum and dad, I was like, how do I tell them? And why is this such a big deal? But it was just because it's all in your head. Like how do you – and I guess words have never been my strong suit. So talking about it was quite challenging, but I had to in the end because I wanted mum to come and visit factories so we could figure out how to manufacture because I didn't want to do that myself.
Yeah. So, the next steps of creating the business.
Yeah.
And did you put together a business plan and step it out, or were you just like, let's go?
Yeah, I am more of a let's go person. Even now, and especially back then, like what even is a business plan, right? Like you've got an idea. Do I know exactly my sales strategy? How do I do up a budget when I have no clue how much anything costs? Like how much is a website? Yep, no clue. Yeah. How much can I get these clothes made for? No idea. What are people willing to pay? Like there was just so many unknowns that, I know how to create a budget spreadsheet. Like that's what I did. But the numbers were nothing. So why bother?
Yeah.
And if I wasn't going to refer back to it again, why bother? So for me, the next step was just getting a product.
Yeah.
And that was interesting how that come about. Purely a little bit of luck, I guess. And luck in a sense, I was invited to a friend's wedding and I just happened to be sitting next to a guy that turned out he made cycling wear. And when we got chatting, I was like, do you know anyone that can make things? And he's like, well, I make cycling wear. I can give you my contact there and see if that goes anywhere. So he gave me this guy's name called Patrick. And so he was in offshore, and then I called him and he's like, we can make high vis gear. I guess the thing when you're dealing in different cultures, yes and no mean very different things. And I've since learned that. So if someone says yes, it probably means more maybe. And if someone says no, it's like a hard no. There's no shifting that. But yeah, I went there. We visited a few factories, but then I came back to Australia and I was going to place the purchase order, and I needed confirmation on this one thing in the fabric, and it just never came.
Yeah.
So I just never heard from Patrick again. And then in hindsight again, perfect time. I just should have walked away. Like I'd given it a good shot. But it was just time to let it go. But instead, I thought I'd come too far to turn around.
Yeah.
But I had nothing. Like I'd done nothing. So then I found a company in Brisbane called China Direct Sourcing, and you could give them effectively a tender and then they'd put it out to professional manufacturers and factories, and then they'd quote on it and give you samples, and it was all very legitimate and really good. It just cost a lot, and that's why I had to stay working in mining the whole time because it was just so expensive, and I self-funded everything.
Yeah.
And mistakes are also expensive, but we can get into that later.
Yeah.
But then, so I placed an order, and it was just for maternity shirt and then 2 women's shirts. The 2 women's shirts never sold from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know exactly why, and you live and you learn and you move on. But the maternity shirt gained really good traction. So I went and spoke to, because I was working for Anglo at the time, I knew how it worked. Like I knew there was a diversity and inclusion specialist. I knew who the people were in HR. So it was quite easy for me to say, okay, this is the gap. Steph had nothing to wear out on site. We've got this shirt now. Can you add it to your uniform list? And they said yes.
So good.
So good. So they were really supportive right from the beginning. They added it to their uniform list, and, the supplier held stock for me, so we got a good sale out of it. But the thing was, I didn't test it on anyone, and turned out the first design was really, really bad. But it also did its job, and it got the industry talking, not only like the mining resource sector as a whole, it also started conversations in the workwear sector. So it did its job. It was very costly mistake to learn, not engaging and giving people to try, especially when I worked in there and Steph was there. Like I could have just been like, Steph, do you want to try this? And but you live and you learn.
Exactly.
And you move on.
Yeah. And, you have to make the mistakes to learn how to improve.
Exactly. And get better.
Yeah. And so now, hold on a second. I don't want to skip too far ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so you launched it. And then how many years did you have to continue working to grow the business before you could move into it being full-time?
Do you really want to know that?
I do. I think that's so important.
I think it was about 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really long time.
Yeah.
Like the first couple. Well, but in the middle of that, I quit. Probably no one really knows that, but we just had no sales because the maternity shirt design was very ordinary. The other women's shirts, they had stretch and it was uncomfortable. Like you can do things like mechanical stretch that I now know that you can keep a natural fibre, like 100% of it, but weave it in a different way so you can, intertwine that comfort. I didn't know any of that at the beginning, so nothing was selling. But I went on this big road trip. So I drove from Bowen to Perth, went all up north. I had a really good look around because I wanted to go through the Pilbara and sort of understand what it's like because I'd seen the Bowen Basin. Then I was like, well, is it the same? And effectively it is. Yeah. It's just your dirt's a different colour.
Yeah. Different dirt.
Yeah,
same
different
thing.
dirt.
Yeah.
But it's hot. It's and even
remote.
Remote, same sort of lifestyle. Like even though Bowen Basin, it's a bit off the coast, but I guess so is a Pilbara. But everyone drove to the coast to go fishing, and it was that really relaxed kind of lifestyle. And so I got to Perth and I was like, right, this is where I've got to be. People will buy it over here. but it was the same product. Like,
Yeah.
so no, it didn't sell. But I went door knocking effectively, cold calling, and I'd all but run out of money. And by this time, because I'd been working in the resource sector, I'd bought an investment property. So I had bills to pay as well. And I couldn't afford another house repayment. So I was like, this is my last shot. I've got to get this to work. So I just cold called BHP. And I was on hold effectively all day. I just got bumped around to different departments.
Yeah.
And I didn't drink water because I couldn't put down the phone to go to the toilet. But eventually a guy picked up the phone and was like, I'll meet with you. And I was like, okay, can you do it tomorrow? Because I was sort of on a deadline. I needed money. And he's like, yeah, I can meet you. So we went and had a coffee. I showed him what I'd done. He's like, look, Kim, I love it, but we're not there yet. We're not ready. Like, we have a few other items to tick off on this journey before we can get to clothing. I'm like, look, that's fair enough, but thank you for meeting me. I went back home that day and I was like devastated, crying.
Yeah.
And I was like that or maybe it was the next day by that time, crying. And I was like, okay, Kim, you've just got to get it together. You've got to get a job. So I went on Seek and I found this one at Curra back in Bowen Basin, and I got that job like quite quickly. So I put my car on transport and went back and flew into Curra, and I started. It was in Brisbane, but it was a lot of site time. And I started there, and pretty much in my head, I'm like, Workwear is over. Like, just go back. A paycheck is really, really nice.
Yeah.
I can live
miss
a really
that.
happy life. Yeah. So I went back and I was probably working there for 12 months. And yeah, Workwear was there, but I hadn't shut it down. But in my head, it was shut down. I just couldn't do it verbally. And then I was in Brisbane this particular day and I was having my lunch and my phone rang and I answered it, and it was the guy I had coffee with back in Perth 12 months ago from BHP. And he's like, oh, hey, Kim, how you going? And I was like, yeah, pretty well, thanks. Like, back at Curra, finance, I'm having fun here. And he's like, oh, right. So are you still making Workwear? I'm like, no, not really. And he said, oh, that's a shame. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we need a women's jacket made. And I was like, look, call the big guys. They'll listen to your feedback. They'll want to help. And he's like, well, I have, and no one's interested. He's like, well, you make us a jacket, come over to Perth. I'll get 20 women down from the Pilbara and we'll get feedback and figure it out. And I said, I can make one, just one sample. He's like, that's enough.
Wow.
Yeah, so I made one. 6 weeks later, was in Perth, BHP office, and we were sitting in one meeting room and then outside with these 20 women, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
And then the first one coming in was like, tried it on. She's like, I really like this jacket. And then she left, and then the next one come in. I was like, ooh, it fits. And
is this the jacket that I was wearing?
Yeah.
I loved that jacket. I literally used to wear it every day. I'm going to insert a photo right now. Oh, I loved that jacket.
So then that happened 20 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and then at the end of the meeting, he was like, well, that's a no-brainer. We'll take this jacket. I was like, well, you can't. And he's like, why not? I was like, well, I can't afford the minimum order quantity.
Yeah.
And he's like, how many? I said it was 500. And then he's like, you know, Kim, we're a pretty big company. And I was like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't have the money to start. And he's like, how about we buy the first 500? And I'm like, really? You do that? He's like, yeah, we do that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but he said, look, we still have to go through our uniform supplier, but I'll intro you there. And then they did that. And it took about 18 months to get set up in the systems and, you know, do audits and stuff. But we eventually got the 500 MOQ order.
Wow.
So then I could place that with the factory. And then, we negotiated that they'd pay me earlier so I could pay. I only had to be out of pocket. So I got a loan for a couple, like 6 weeks or something, and then it was paid, and then I could pay that back.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how it all got going.
So it all started from one
that
jacket.
Yeah, so as much as like the maternity stuff kicked it off, that wasn't the product that got it going. It was the jacket. And then that jacket turned into being the bestseller across like BHP.
Yeah.
And and then I guess, that's
The
how it all got
that's
going.
the momentum that kind of started
Yeah.
rolling. As I said, I had it, I loved it.
Thank you. Oh.
But then I guess so, like, you had that product moving,
Mm.
and then now you also have a product where you can the hem away,
Yeah.
which is an innovative, amazing product. So
Thank
talk
you.
us through that.
Yeah, so then, well, because we'd solved that problem for BHP, we then got asked to solve the maternity problem because they were like, we know you've got it, but no one likes it. I'm like, yeah, that's fair call. So then we did a project around that and delivered that, and everyone was happy. And then they said, okay, well, you've delivered those two projects. We now want you to bring out your women's pants in multiple leg length options, just like men's
So
have.
good.
Yeah, regular, tall and stout. And then I said, okay, I don't think I can do that because being a small business, we don't have the cash flow to support just having that many options on the shelf. Now, like, Kim, we don't really want to hear no. Like, just go and solve it.
Just solve
and
this
come
problem.
back.
Yeah.
So, that call ended, and went home that night and was telling my husband, Stu, about, what the next challenge was. He's like, Kim, just forget it. Let's just open a bottle of red wine, chuck some steaks on the barbecue, just forget work. I'm like, yeah, righto, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then as the night progressed, we probably had a little bit too much red wine. And then we started reminiscing about our upbringings on farms. Stu grew up on a sheep farm, so they had lots of grain and stuff. And then I was in North Queensland, and there was a few bits, and it wasn't a big farm, but we had animals and a few mango trees and stuff like that. And Stu said to me, have you ever opened a bag of grain? And I was like a bag of chook feed?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, like a bag of chook feed. He's like, if you open it one way, it comes undone really easily, but if you open it the other way, it gets jammed up. And he's like, can't you just put that mechanism on a pair of pants? I'm like, honestly, Stu, I don't think so. It just can't. I think, there'll just be a whole lot of issues. It just can't work. And then went to bed, got up the next morning, and I just couldn't get the conversation out of my head about this bag of chook feed. And then I just started playing around with it, could it work?
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, well, actually, maybe it could. So I called an IP lawyer the next day. And Jack, he actually came to Toowoomba and, sat down and went through the whole patenting process because it's huge. It's still going on now because we've got it globally, but it's all different timeframes and it's a lot. And but he's like, okay, we'll get a provisional patent to start. That gives you 12 months to get it up and going in a factory setting. So we had protection. Effectively, no one could grab the idea while we were setting it up.
Yeah.
We had that secured. And then, he's since told me, he said, Kim, I was never expecting you to get past that. He's like, I knew it was a good idea, but just not many people get it past that. And I was like, oh, there you go.
Thanks.
But, we got it past there and went into bulk production, and then got it working, got it out there. But even that, that 12 months, it was so intense because the factory would, they'd say, oh, but it can't be done because of this. And then you'd be like, oh, what about X, Y, and Z? And then it'd go back and then come back. But I guess the blessing of that, it all sort of happened over COVID. So everyone was always working.
Yeah.
I felt. So whenever something come back, it was like, okay, look at this, this, and this. And then we did a lot over Teams. So in the past, we'd never really done that stuff with factories, but everyone's gotten used to technology, so we could problem solve because I think if you didn't do that, you'd have to sort of be on the floor at the factory trying to problem solve this. So, it worked, and then that then transitioned into, I can't remember the exact name, but effectively we'd secured the patent because it was out in the market, and then we had to nominate which countries and all that's still going on. But we've been granted Australia, USA, South Africa, yeah, there's been a few.
Amazing. So good.
Yeah.
And so essentially, like when you buy one pair of pants and you can tear it off 3 different sizes.
5 now.
5.
5. Yeah, so we do sizes 4 to size 26, so that's 12 options.
Yeah.
And then each pair of pants have 5 different leg length options. So we have 60 fit options in 12 physical pairs of pants.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so crazy.
So then we exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
Or I don't think they ever thought we would solve this. Personally, I never thought we'd solve this.
Yeah.
And because the men's only have 30 options and now we have 60. So,
That's so
we killed
good.
it.
Yeah, you're killing it. And with CoGear, are you still very focused on maternity or have you broadened your range?
Yeah, we've broadened. So now we're a full women's wear
Mm-hmm.
range. So we've actually, this is really new, hot
Yeah.
off the press, but we've got 4 different ranges.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah, we'll have the Max range and
Yeah.
they're like our legacy products. So they're the ones that have the case study stories, like the Nora jacket and the maternity range and the Allison cargo. So like the stories, the products that exist that make CoGear exist effectively all sit in our Max range. And then we'll have our everyday range. So there's some really cool tech in those products that
Cool.
super excited to talk about, but I haven't got the clearance
Yeah,
yet
yeah,
to
yeah.
talk about it. So that's the everyday range. It's coming. And then we've got the form range and that's our pregnancy range. So it's all about curves and
So cool.
your
Yeah.
form, which is going to be our accessories.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, that'll start all kind of filtering through end of the year, early next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, really trying to have, it's a challenge because we want to have still a small considered range, but make sure we have all the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So you can be wearing CoGear head to toe,
Yeah.
including your socks and your headband, like your sweatband sort of
Yeah.
thing. But
So
that's coming.
and now, obviously, from that one jacket to how many stockists or companies are you currently in?
Well, we've taken a really different approach. We're not really in the retail space. We're
Okay.
really heavy in the B2B.
Yeah.
So we also work with a lot of others. Atom's a big part, Bunzel is a big part. But yeah, we're more in that B2B space.
Yeah. Amazing. So it's taking over.
Well, I hope. Like it's 13, 14 years in the making?
Yeah. Good things take time, right?
I hope. Yeah.
And like obviously I think this story shows persistence and the dream and, all of the challenges that you've just explained and taking them head on and continuing to push through even when it got really hard. What is one thing looking back now you would have told yourself starting that journey?
Don't remortgage my house and buy stock that never sells.
Yeah.
That's probably the big one. But no, in all honesty, I just don't think there would have been anything. I was that naive. You just don't know what you don't know. So therefore you don't really listen to advice. Like I was just so pig-headed to a degree that this is what I wanted to do. Nothing would have stopped me.
Yeah, probably not pig-headed, probably just delusional, like not ordinary.
Exactly.
Like that's the thing, starting a business and like even starting this podcast, you have to be so focused on
crazy.
it or delusional or not kind of think about all the risks. Plus you'll
100%.
never start. Like that's the thing. I know a lot of people with great ideas, but they talk themselves out of the idea.
For sure.
So I guess like what's, you just talked about new ranges coming out. What is next for you and CoGear and, what is the legacy that you're creating right now?
That's a really interesting question. What's next is just delivering these ranges is a big thing. Make sure CoGear is very accessible to everyone. A lot of people still don't even know we exist. So it's really that brand awareness that we're viewed by our partners as being one of the top brands in Australia. So now it's just filtering that out to make sure that everybody else knows we exist. And we're just one option, but that's what we want to be. So we don't have to be the only brand on the work uniform list. We just want to be an option there because we believe women deserve to be comfortable at work, and that means having choice. Like, I think we've spoken before about, safety glasses. We need choices there. We need choices in our work boots. We need choices in our workwear. So it's just about being one option, but one that women can rely on, and hopefully one that they give a shot and like wearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, really focusing on our customers and users, not swaying away from our core values, which is listening and being problem solvers.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that's really, it's interesting that CoGear, it's allowed me to be the person that I think I was always supposed to be. So like if I look back at school, my report cards, they all said, Kim tries really hard, and she's a good listener. That's what they said. All I wanted them to say was she's really smart and is going to go really well with whatever she chooses, but they didn't. And I think through then this whole journey of CoGear to date, I've been able to lean into my strengths of being a good listener.
Yeah.
And people want to tell me their problems and I want to listen to them and I want to solve them.
Yeah.
So I think it's allowed me to grow and not be particularly bothered by anything. Like if things don't go the way I thought I wanted them to, and you've got to pivot, be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think I just try and be more gentle on myself. I don't try and if someone comes to me with something that I don't know, I don't pretend that I know it. I'm pretty open, I don't know that, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what now our customers are starting to see, and I want to share that is what we try and deliver on.
Yeah.
And hopefully we do.
Yeah. Amazing. And we didn't talk about being a mum and how you're balancing that with business.
Not well. I think it comes back to, again, being gentle on myself. Every day, there's things I try and be present. I try and go to the gym. I try and make a good meal.
I'm laughing because this is me.
You've got really good intention.
Yeah.
But most
tries really hard.
Yeah, exactly. Back to that report card. Tries really hard. Isn't that great? So if I get to the gym, awesome, well done. If I don't, that's also okay. I'm going to the gym now more when he's almost 4 than when he was a newborn. That was a struggle. So I see it as a win.
Yeah.
I think it's just, and if I, I'll try and make David a good meal, but if I'm eating a frozen meal, that's also a pretty good win.
Yeah, exactly. Food is food.
Yeah, that's right. And Monday and Friday, I try and be home and present. Obviously, I'm not there all the time, with work travel. But yeah, we're doing a caravan thing next year.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So yeah, it's also been about prioritizing what I want and what we as a family want life to look like. And for us, we've been really focused on work the last couple of years, but it was 10 or 15 or however long it's been. But David starts kindy next year, and we were like, okay, that's our year before he starts prep to go and explore. So we bought a caravan, and Stu's somehow going to work from the caravan. He's a surveyor, so it's trickier, right? Big plans and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's got a good team around him. I've got a good team now with CoGear, and we're just going to make things work.
Yeah.
We even admit the first few months we might just be at a caravan still just working, but at least you're getting closer. Then we're putting more structure in place to be able to do our laps. So we've acknowledged that it's not going to be perfect straight away, but we are going to leave in December or January and try.
So good.
Yeah. So I think it's that whole, knowing what you want deep down and what matters, and then figuring out how to get there. But this caravan trip, we've been planning it for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, but when I say planning it, we've been talking about it out loud.
Yeah.
In 2026, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But the planning's only really starting now. We've got to sell our house because we're also going to, when we finish the lap, we're moving back to North Queensland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's a massive shift for us. We're moving town and also packing up and living in a caravan and
Big changes.
Big changes.
Very exciting though.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up today, I always ask, what is one piece of advice that you would leave the listeners, say if they were thinking about starting their own label or starting their own business? What would that piece of advice be?
Probably don't think too much. Like if you really want something, just start.
Yeah.
So whatever that looks like, just start talking about it. Well, I don't know if I'd say that, start talking about it, because I was very protective for the first 12 months. I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And I think that allowed me to then get the confidence. So whether you talk about it outwardly or not, that's up to you. But I would start. I wouldn't just keep thinking about it, because there will never be a good time or a sensible time or a time where you'll have more money or, you've just got to
go with the delusion.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Honestly, same. Just doing it and figuring it out. I'm still doing that to this day.
So am I.
To the next day. So, that I have the same mindset as you. But thank you so much for joining me today. So great to meet you in person. Excited to see your next steps. And for anybody that is interested in learning more about CoGear, you can follow their handles on socials and also get in touch.
Yes, definitely.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.